Welcome to iLecture Now let's take a look at the main vibrational mode of the two most important greenhouse gases that we have in the atmosphere, and those are water vapor and carbon dioxide. Together, they account for about 98 to 99% of the total greenhouse effect, which keeps us nice and warm on the Earth. So what are those three main vibrational modes? Well, they happen to be two stretch modes. They call the symmetric stretch and the anti-symmetric stretch and the bend mode. And notice that most of the triatomic molecules do indeed have those three vibrational modes. It just so happens that the two bend modes, the bend mode for the carbon dioxide and the bend mode for the water vapor, are the two most important ones of the three listed here. Well, let's take a look and see what they are. Well, let's talk about the symmetric stretch for carbon dioxide. That means that the two oxygen molecules move away from the carbon and back towards the carbon, back away from the carbon, back towards the carbon in unison. That's called the symmetric stretch. If we take a look at the second stretch mode, the anti-symmetric stretch, the oxygen molecules do not move away from the carbon atom, move back together at the same time. They're kind of asynchronous like this, and so that's why they're called anti-symmetric stretch. And then finally, the bend vibrational mode is where the carbon will move in one direction and the oxygen will move in the other direction. Then the oxygen will move up and the carbon moves down. So basically, that the molecule continues to do this. Again, that is the most important one. That particular vibration mode contributes the most to the greenhouse effect in the atmosphere as far as carbon dioxide is concerned. Now let's take a look at the water molecule. It turns out, since the water molecule is bent, not only does it have these three typical stretch modes, or I should say the three typical vibration modes, it has some additional modes as well. We'll get into that later. So there's far more places in the spectrum where water vapor can absorb radiation, but these are three of the main modes: the symmetric stretch, the anti-symmetric stretch, and the bending mode. Notice with the symmetric stretch, the hydrogen will move away from the oxygen and back to the oxygen at the same time. There will be the symmetry of motion, so that's why called the symmetric stretch. The anti-symmetric stretch, notice that the hydrogen will move towards the oxygen, not together in unison, so therefore it's called the anti-symmetric stretch. And then the bend mode means that the hydrogen atoms will move closer together, farther apart, closer together, farther apart, and back and forth like this. And that's the bending vibrational mode in water vapor. Notice the way that it's expressed. Typically, you express these different modes as the number of wavelengths per centimeter of radiation required to match that. So the number of wavelengths in radiation that matches that particular frequency, 1388, 2349, and 677. That corresponds to wavelengths in the infrared of 7.2 micrometers, 4.2 micrometers, and 14.8 micrometers. With water vapor, the number of waves per centimeter are a little bit larger here, 3652, 3756, 1595. For shorter wavelengths, 2.7 micrometers, 2.7 micrometers, and 6.3 micrometers. So correspondingly, they have shorter wavelengths, and therefore they have higher frequencies. So these vibrational modes correspond to higher vibrational frequencies. When we look at these frequencies, we may think, wow, if water vapor can only absorb these specific frequencies, and if carbon dioxide can only absorb these specific frequencies, then it can do much as far as absorbing energy, because any frequency that's slightly different from those would not be absorbed by these gases. It turns out that's not the case. For each of these particular frequencies, there will be a range of frequencies that can be absorbed around that particular frequency, because most of the time the energy absorbed will be a combination of the vibrational modes and the rotational modes, which expands the number of frequencies that can be absorbed. And then through some smearing factor, and we'll talk about that later, we can see that each of these gases can absorb a range of frequencies centered about these particular frequencies listed. So that is why they're so effective at absorbing energy and therefore contributing to the greenhouse effect. Again, we'll go through this step by step so you can fully understand how this mechanization actually works, because that's what we need to do in order to really understand what we mean by greenhouse effect and how it works.